This is one of our pea patches. Just a little overrun, show you a little bit. That's purple hull peas. These up right here, and this is all butterbeans right here. Now we've fenced it off. We got an electric fence around it to keep the deer out of it. So that's stopped us from plowing anything, but we sprayed a little post in there, and that's kept most of the briars and stuff down. But those purple hulls over there, you can see them hanging everywhere. They just about, in fact, we picked one bucket full yesterday, but they start to get ready. They're ready to pick again, really. Probably will wait and pick them this afternoon. There's watermelons right down this road. I'm gonna get off this buggy. Walk around here for you just a minute. I got my coffee. We just kind of checking on stuff this morning. And I made this cup. This is Southern Mud Pottery. I'm gonna set it back down, but I'm gonna turn you back around. Show you some of these watermelons. And I know this looks growed up. A lot of people, they gonna keep every bit of the grass out of their garden. I don't have time for that. If I can't get in here and find a watermelon, see, some of them's pretty small. I hadn't come down here and just walked and looked in a little while. We're gonna do a quick walk right through here and see how many we can see just right off. I know there's one over in there. There's one there. There's one right over in there. One there. Now these are still small. They still got a little while. Now down toward this further end, they're gonna be some bigger ones. See, that in there's a little bit bigger in there. There's another one right over in there. You can't hardly see it. But anyway, I'm not gonna walk all the way. I know there's watermelons. There's 2 or 3 different varieties in there. There's some Black Diamond, some Jubilee, some yellow meated watermelon. I'm not sure the exact name of it. Hopefully it won't be long. We'll be splitting watermelons on the picnic table. But I was gonna show you these peas. I got crossed up in my peas. I've got one row. You can see there's a whole row here, and then there's a little bit of a row here. Somehow my planter jammed up. Didn't plant about 3 or 4 rows. So after everything started coming up, I couldn't remember what I planted where. So I'm gonna suggest something right here to you. When you start planting, make a note. Get you some notebook paper somewhere. Write down what you planted where, how many rows of it. Draw a diagram, something. Because if something don't come up, you can go back and plant the right thing. What I did here is I planted the same white peas that I planted over yonder on these next 3 rows, thinking that I was filling in what wasn't gonna come up. So I only wound up with 1 row of my zipper cream peas, which is probably my personal favorite. Fortunately, they make a lot of peas. I'm gonna walk right down through here. Now I'm barefooted as a duck. That's the way I stay out here in the country. But you see how they just load up. I mean, they're thick all in there. So this one long row will still produce a lot of peas. I'll be able to eat plenty and get my seed back. I won't be able to bag a bunch of them. Now this is a white pea. Silver cream pea, I think may be the actual name of it. My grandpa raised this pea for years. And they grow a lot of vine. Now I come through here and hoed the weeds out of this. Or not the weeds, but the briars. You see this briar right here? This is what I call a hog briar. One of my other videos, you've probably seen it. It's got a red stalk. These things come up and get huge. You see right in here? That's thorns. And that's right there is ants that I'm standing in. You have to watch for that when you're gonna go barefooted. But anyway, that hog briar, that thing makes it tough to pick. So I come through here and I hoed all of them down. Now you can see these little ones in here, that's hog briars. Fortunately, when we hadn't had to spray a whole lot of pesticide, the bugs is eating these hog briars and leaving my peas alone. Now you can see a few holes in my peas, but there's a lot of peas. Look at them sunflowers, they're beautiful. You hear them martins? That's my pest control mostly. And we've got, that's full of them. That's full of them. Look all on that. We have plenty of martins right here on our garden. I'm gonna give you another quick tip here. And I told y'all in some other videos that we was gonna learn together. I planted corn here. You notice there's just a few stalks of corn. What happened is the seed I saved did not totally dry. It felt dry, it looked dry, it hung out here on the corn stalks for a good while. But it did not dry completely. So when I planted it, either the planter planted it too deep and it rotted in the soil, or it just didn't germinate, I don't know, but it did not come up. Now, a few of them did. So what I done is I come back and I plugged in a few watermelons that I had started up there on one row down there. And then I planted pumpkins. I waited late and I'm fixing to show you, you can find them. I know my gardens look like it's all grass. Once some things get up big enough, like the few stalks of corn that's there, I didn't want to plow over them and destroy them, because I will pull the seed off of them this year and try that again, just to learn how to save my own seed. You can read a book about how to do things. You can watch a video of somebody else doing it. You can watch me do it, and you still won't know how. Till you get out here and practice things and actually do it and make it work. Don't wait till the last minute till you've got to save seed to start trying to learn how, because you'll lose a bunch of it. Fortunately, like those white peas last year, I planted a bunch of them didn't come up. This year, you see I've got piles of them. That's because I saved my seed a little better than I did the year before, and I planted better. You've got to learn these things, and the only way to learn is like survival bushcraft. The only way you can learn to make a fire without a lighter is to practice it. You can watch and know how and still not be able to do it. Gardening is a lot the same way. Just because you see me doing something, if you're not careful, when you get out here and start doing it, it won't work for you. So I'm learning some of this together. I've just started saving seed the last 4 or 5 years. Some things are a lot easier to save. I thought corn was fairly easy to save. But what I did is either one of those methods I used, either when I bagged it all up and stored it for a few days in a sack, I picked it in a feed bag and piled it up, and I may have let it get moist in there sometime during that. I'm sure whatever it was my fault. So I'm going to try to make sure I don't do that. And I do have some more seed that I had picked later. I saved differently. I didn't try to plant it. I saved it because I could stick my hand in it and tell that it felt different, that it was more dry and would germinate. And I did take the rest of the seed that didn't germinate and scattered it out here the other day. I'm going to see if any of it sprouts later in this year while it's warmer. We're still getting a lot of rain, but I'm going to turn you around and show you our pumpkins. You see right here, that's one, that's one, that's one. Now you see all that grass? My grandpa would have had a fit. He would not have let all that grass in there, but my grandpa was retired and didn't have anything else to do but work in his garden. He had time to keep it. I'm trying to run a pottery business. I'm trying to make videos on gardening. I'm trying to garden. We're raising a baby. I've got a 1-year-old. He'll turn a year this month. We've got a lot going on. I'm helping my dad over here in this welding shop build metal trusses, trying to keep all this grass mowed. And with the pottery business, it's taking a lot of our time, but with gardening, I'll try to do a little canoeing and camping and fishing and stuff that I want to do too. It's hard to keep everything done. So I'm going to ease down through here and let you see some of our pumpkins. We're just kind of looking at what's out here. But you can see down this road, with all this grass that's in there, if I can't get in there later in the year and find an orange pumpkin, there ain't no hope for me, no way. I feel like easy enough, and it's not that bad. Once you walk, I'll step off right out in here and let you look. In between these rows, I mean, it's not that bad. It has been plowed. You can see dirt easy enough. That is a hog briar. You see how big this hog briar is? That thing is almost as, it's up right here is chest high, this tip. So, and I don't know, there's probably another name. You probably know them by something else. And I'm sure hog briar ain't the exact name, so that's just what we call them. But anyway, you can see this is pumpkin plants. Now on over here, somewhere, there's some watermelon vines down right in here somewhere. I don't see them right off. I think most of them are more right on. Yeah, I see some right down there. But anyway, I'm gonna go show you a cornfield where we do have corn. I'm not out of corn. This was just one patch that I was trying to plant a certain variety. So we do have corn. Let me back on up. I don't know if you can hear me over this buggy. I may need to talk louder, but that's a pretty long road. That's probably 150 foot, at least 100 foot. Probably more like 150. It's pretty good. It's not 100 yards by any means. It's half of it probably. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 rows of that. Now this is all G90. I was trying to plant shoe peg up yonder. And some golden bantam. Now golden bantam did sprout, it just didn't come up like I wanted it to. This right here, this is pumpkins. You see a rabbit run across out there? We have a lot of wildlife here. You'd think with these dogs it'd stay gone, but I'm sure they probably eating my pumpkins or something. They may just be eating that tender grass. It's well fertilized, that's why that grass has got so big. Once the corn gets up to a certain height, you can't plow it with that tractor anymore. But we've got 3 rows of pumpkins, and I come in yesterday at the end. That pumpkin row stops right there, I think. And I planted this little bit in gourds so that we can make some more Martin gourds. But anyway, I just wanted to give you a quick run through my garden. I know we showed some videos and I hadn't had time to do a lot of gardening videos, but I wanted to show you that some of it was producing. I wanted to show you that some of it failed. You see all these YouTube videos of people doing stuff and you never see them screw up. People screw up. If you do stuff, you're gonna screw up some. You're gonna just do stuff wrong. It's not gonna work out for you. Weather, whatever. We've had a lot of rain, and I don't know if maybe that affected some of the stuff differently. But I mean, I've got some tomatoes. The vines are 7 foot tall, but they just now starting to produce. But everything is doing pretty well. But I wanted to show you we've got a good bit of corn. Pumpkins are coming on now. You see, there's no grass in this. And there's another field right over here that has no grass hardly in it. We sprayed post. It's a post emergent. And actually, I think this field, we put a pre-emergent on it. I don't know exactly what name brand we used, but we sprayed a chemical on it before we ever planted anything to keep the grass from growing to see if it worked. We don't do a lot of that, but we don't have time to hoe a lot of stuff. And my dad helped me. We planted these pumpkins, and there's, I think, 3 different varieties of pumpkins, and part of this is seed we saved. Some of it is seed we bought. So I'm learning seed saving myself. I would encourage you to start practicing this. With the way everything's going in our world, there could be a time where you can't go just buy seed. With this COVID-19, it was a little difficult to get plants this year because you couldn't go in the stores at the time that we needed to be buying them. So it put a lot of people back, and a lot of people didn't get everything they wanted or what they was used to planting. Save seed. Learn how to save seed, because you've got to figure out the best way for you to save it. I put a lot of stuff in a freezer. Some of it I didn't put in a freezer. I'm going to say this. Some of the stuff that I didn't put in a freezer that I just kept in an ice cream bucket sitting on the shelf inside my shed. Now, this shed is climate controlled because I do pottery in it. There's a heater that runs a lot during the winter. There's a air conditioner that runs in the summer. Clay cannot freeze. So that room is climate controlled to a degree. That seed done better than what I froze. So freezing it's not the only way. A lot of the old timers hung bags of stuff up, and I'm gonna probably do some videos on some of the ways that I save seed later on in this fall, when I collect and start saving seed, to try to help you see some of the different ways of doing it. Every way may not be successful, but I know some of the ways it didn't work. I wouldn't pick this in a bag anymore. I've got a couple of crawfish sacks and potato sacks. They're a mesh type bag. Put it in that. Air can get in there. It don't seal up and hold moisture. I'm changed. I won't never pick corn in a feed bag and leave it sitting in there in the shed for a day or two. I think that was probably where I messed up. But these pumpkins, every seed that I saved out of my pumpkins are growing. And I tell you what I did. I left my pumpkin sitting there as long as it would stay there. I set them out there on the back porch. till they almost started rotting. And in fact, one I got seed out of started rotting in about 2 or 3 weeks before I planted it. And that's when I decided to cut it open and get the seed out. And I spread it on a table under my lean-to and raked the seed out. And it stunk to high heaven, but we got the seed and the seed's growing. So we'll show you some, give you some help. But thank y'all for watching my video. Like, subscribe. Have a good one. Remember, the best way to do stuff is the way you want to do it.